Hi, I'm Tracy Jacobs, the director of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at Towson University. And I want to welcome you to the Osher preview of fall classes. Today, we have many of our instructors here to tell you about their fall courses. But before we begin, here are a few things to keep in mind. If you want to take a look at the Osher Fall Catalog, please visit www.towson.edu/Osher and click on the Fall Catalog PDF. Registration will open on Tuesday, August 6th. We have a new online registration system, so please follow the instructions carefully so that you can be sure that you've completed your registration successfully. If you have any questions about registration, please email us at osher@towson.edu. And be patient as we will work through all of our emails to answer everybody's questions. I want to tell you a little bit about our schedule. Online classes will be offered on Mondays and Fridays, and most of those classes will be recorded. Pay attention to the catalog for a note that will let you know if an online course is not being recorded. Our in-person classes will be meeting on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. None of these in-person classes will be recorded. Thank you for joining us today. If you're new to Osher, I want to welcome you. And if you've been with us for a while, I want to thank you for your continued participation. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the following preview presentations.
Greetings, meine kleinen Freunde. I'm Jonathan Polewski, and we have the pleasure this semester of talking about Johann Sebastian Bach, the greatest thing to ever come out of East Germany. Now, that is a low bar, because what do we think of when we think of East Germany? We think of a country that spied on its citizens and was relentlessly cruel to them. We think about a country that had lots of toxic coal mining, but East Germany, this little part of what is now Germany, had so much music in it. J.S. Bach was born in a small town called Eisenach, as was Martin Luther. He was from a family of ecclesiastical musicians. He worked in Mühlhausen, he worked in Arnstadt, but more famously worked in Weimar, Anhalt-Köthen, and of course in Leipzig. And in Leipzig, he did so much. He works at 4 churches there, 2 of which are extant. He wrote works for solo organ, works for solo keyboard, beautiful concertos for all manner of instruments. He wrote incredible cantatas, sacred works in both the Catholic and the Lutheran tradition. He is probably the most accomplished composer in Western music, and we are grateful for him, and we will explore his amazing music. But wait, that's not all. Not only did J.S. Bach live in Leipzig, but Schumann worked in Leipzig, both Clara and Robert, by the way. Mendelssohn was in Leipzig. Wagner was born in Leipzig. Grieg worked in Leipzig. It was a university town. American composers, many of them, went and trained in Leipzig. And near Leipzig is, of course, Weimar, where not only did Bach work, but Liszt had a home there and worked there for many decades. This little part of Germany was such an incredible resource in terms of musical talent. It is amazing. And we haven't even started talking about Berlin. So I hope you will join me. This is a fascinating subject. J.S. Bach's music is bewitching in its complexity and its humanity. And I hope you will join me. It's going to be a great 8 weeks, I promise.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. Seth Keibel here, just doing a little practicing, but I'm also getting super excited for my class for Towson Osher this fall, Bebop and Beyond. This is going to be a history of jazz, really picking up after the swing era, after the end of World War II, starting with the exciting revolution of bebop, this new radical type of jazz that emerged underground at first in the clubs of Harlem and then on 52nd Street with great pioneers like saxophonist Charlie Parker, better known as Bird, Dizzy Gillespie on trumpet, a pianist Thelonious Monk, and others. We'll get into the 1950s with such giants of modern jazz as Miles Davis, his protege John Coltrane. Yes, we'll talk about Dave Brubeck, the guy who made that song that I was just practicing, Famous, Take 5. Some of my favorite saxophonists like Stan Getz and Sonny Rollins. Who knows what we'll have time for. We're going to listen to a lot of great recordings and watch some great vintage video clips. There'll be a fair amount of drugs and drinking too. In the course material, not actually in our class. But it should be a lot of fun. So I hope to see you. It's going to be Wednesdays this fall in the afternoon at Edenwald. I better get back to practicing.
It's a very ancient saying, but a true and honest thought, that if you become a teacher, by your students you'll be taught. Some of you may recognize that from The King and I, which is not one of the 8 plays everyone should know this semester, but there will be 8 plays that I hope everyone will like. The reason that that quote is relevant is because one of the students who's taken this course before clued me into the idea that all 10 of the plays written by the great August Wilson will be produced sometime this season in the Baltimore area. And that gave me the idea to cover some of his plays, and in addition, hoping to invite some of the artists who are involved in the production of these plays in the area to join us, but also to cover some other plays that are inspired by the playwright's true experiences in real life. And that includes Tennessee Williams' The Glass Menagerie, Arthur Miller's After the Fall, which is loosely based on his marriage to Marilyn Monroe, Eugene O'Neill's only comedy, Wilderness, which is a Valentine to his younger days, and local playwright Paula Vogel's play The Baltimore Waltz, which was about her brother. Those of you who are new to the series, you don't have to have taken it before. Before the semester begins, I send everyone a list of where you might be able to read the scripts or see clips or full-length productions of the plays we'll cover. You can prepare or not. And during the class, we have lively discussion. We talk about the playwrights, their backgrounds, and the plays, anything that really comes up. And occasionally, as I say, we're treated to live performances as well. So we begin on Wednesday, September 11th, not a date anyone can forget, at 1 o'clock. And I hope to see you all there. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Robert Jacobs, and I will be teaching a Zoom course this fall at Towson Osher called Yoknapatawpha County, The Life and Literature of William Faulkner. Yoknapatawpha is a Native American word. It's Chickasaw. It means variously split land or water flows slowly over flat ground. Faulkner picked this word intentionally because it ties into important themes in his novels and short stories. Yoknapatawpha County itself is the fictional county where more or less all of Faulkner's work takes place. All of his novels, all of his short stories take place in Yoknapatawpha County, which is a fictional version of Lafayette County, Mississippi, which was the county, the center of which was Oxford, Mississippi, which was where William Faulkner lived and wrote. Faulkner famously said, "The past isn't dead, it's not even past." And so Faulkner was very interested in investigating and writing about both the past, the present, and the potential future of America, and seeing how these things connected. In this course, over 8 weeks, we will be looking at a number of short stories, famous short stories such as A Rose for Emily, Dry September, Red Leaves, That Evening Sun, and other stories. And we'll be doing close readings of these stories and interrogating them and trying to figure out the themes and what Faulkner was investigating himself when he was writing these stories. Faulkner is widely considered by many to be one of the greatest writers of the 20th century, certainly one of the greatest American writers, probably of all time. And along with themes, we will also be looking at Faulkner's experimental, is very intricate and experimental modernist style. Some of his novels and short stories are very challenging. Others are more straightforward, but he was very much a modernist. And so we will be exploring the way that he uses this experimental style as a way of exploring his important themes. So I would ask anyone who's interested in William Faulkner or American literature, if you're interested, to please come out and join us as we read this great American writer. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Father Bob Albright. Archaeologists, liturgists, and biblical scholars have brought us to the brink of a new era in biblical studies. For the past 50 years or so, a whole new way of looking at the Bible has developed, and our old ideas about the Bible are beginning to prove inadequate. This course, which I have entitled Introduction to the Bible, will be less informational and more attitudinal. We need to catch up to modern biblical scholarship and begin to see the Bible in light of the newest discoveries. Therefore, this course will deal with 8 issues that will help any modern reader of the Bible understand this timeless treatise with greater insight. These 8 issues include, first, that the Bible is a book of faith, not an answer book, not a history book, not a science book, but a book of faith. Second, that the Bible cannot always be taken literally. How do we know when to do this and when not to do this? Third, that the Bible is a composite of great ancient literature utilizing many different styles that deserve a process of authentic interpretation. Fourth, that the Bible is the Word of God and the words of humans, and how to distinguish this. Fifth, that there are conflicting theologies in the many books of the Bible, and we shouldn't try to get around them. Sixth, that the Bible is an association of many images that had a special meaning to the biblical writers. 7, that the Bible, though written at many times, in many different places, for many different audiences, is still one story made up of many stories. Finally, that the pages of the New Testament portion of the Bible contain a dominant theology of the return of Jesus to usher in the kingdom of God, and how we must understand this very ancient expectation. So, bring a Bible with you, some paper, a pen or pencil. You are about to learn things you won't want to forget. Thank you.
Hello, my Osher friends. This is Ed Fothergill, and my course this semester is Ancient Chinese Thought. So this course will focus on the 3 major schools of ancient Chinese thought: Confucianism, Taoism, and Chan Buddhism. Confucianism, dating back to the 6th century BC, is a humanistic philosophy focusing on social and political ethics and etiquette. Taoism, dating back to the 4th century BC, is the mystical tradition of China, emphasizing a way of life that is in harmony with nature. And finally, there is Chan Buddhism, dates back to the 6th century AD. It's a secular school of spirituality rooted in the intersection of Taoism and Buddhism. Together, the three schools of thought paint a dynamic portrait of Chinese intellectual and spiritual culture. I thank you for your consideration, and I hope to see you in September.
Hi folks, I'm Rick Bell. I'm a professor of history at University of Maryland down in College Park, and I am delighted to be telling all of you that I'm coming back to Towson to give an 8-part course online on Zoom this fall, starting at the end of September, and it's about the relationship between the American Revolution, an event we understand well, I think, here in America, and the larger fate of the British Empire in that period, something I think those of us who live here understand perhaps less about. So we'll be looking at 8 discrete topics which make that connection between the Revolution and the British Empire. We'll be looking at the Boston Tea Party as an event within the British Empire. We'll be looking at the American War as perceived and disputed and debated in Britain itself. We'll look at the role of the Irish and Irish Americans in the American War. We'll look at the role of the Caribbean, places like Jamaica, for instance, or why was it that 13 British Caribbean colonies did not choose to break away, while those on the mainland, of course, did. We'll look at the role of loyalists in the American Revolution, and then I think we'll look at the role of other topics, including Australia, how the founding of Australia is directly related to the loss of the 13 colonies. So this is designed to be sort of perspective broadening, maybe even mind expanding, new takes on a familiar subject, the American Revolution, as put in the perspective of something much broader, the British Empire. I can't wait to share all that with you. I hope you'll take a look at this class. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm John DeMond, and I'll be teaching Anne Frank, her life, her diary, and beyond. Look at all of these books about Anne Frank. I've actually read most of them over the past 30 or so years, and I want to share what I know with you. Did you know that Anne Frank's father, Otto, lived and worked in New York City during the first decade of the 20th century? Did you know that Anne Frank had a pen pal in Iowa in 1939 and 1940? Did you know that Anne Frank's mother, Edith, risked her own life to protect her daughters while imprisoned in Auschwitz? Along with everything about Anne Frank's life, I will review a brief history of European anti-Semitism, pieces of World War II and Holocaust history to fill in context, and also talk about the life of the diary after it was first published in 1947, including an incredible drama over the dramatization of the diary on Broadway. There's much more to Anne Frank than her diary, so join me and find out the rest.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bob Baer. I'll be teaching the American Civil Rights Movement on Tuesday mornings this fall. Now, African Americans and their allies have sought to overturn deeply entrenched systems of racial segregation and discrimination in the United States. Starting with the historical background of race relations in America, the class will explore the turbulent history of the civil rights struggle from the late 19th century through the 1960s. It will examine major events, historical themes, important people, organizations, and places, and strategies used by the Campaign for Social Justice. It will assess the movement's achievements, shortcomings, influence, legacy, and many of the lessons for today. Topics will include Jim Crow policies and resistance to change, sit-ins, freedom rides, voting rights, civil disobedience, Black power, as well as many of the legal and legislative victories. So I hope you will be able to join me.
Hi, everyone. My name is Barbara Blumberg-Ressin, and I'm going to be teaching the history of abortion in America this fall. Abortion, this word, when said out loud, strikes passion in people of all shapes, sizes, colors, genders, political persuasions, and religion. Whether you are pro-abortion or anti-abortion or pro-life or pro-choice, everyone has an opinion to offer to defend their position, and usually a very strong one at that. The topic has always been controversial, more so since Roe v. Wade was overturned with the now famous Dobbs decision. Is it a women's health issue, a political issue, a religious issue, or a state and federal government issue? It's a subject that has been so much in the forefront of the Supreme Court nominees that they have been confronted with questions regarding Roe and precedent for the last several decades. Roe was most likely the most controversial Supreme Court decision of the 20th century, other than Brown v. the Board of Education, or the Loving decision regarding racial intermarriage. The Roe and Dobbs decision inflamed society because so many issues blended together to make up these cases. Think about it. It affected citizens' religious beliefs, medical opinions, ethical views, political choices, gender assignment, monetary resources, and society's definition of several amendments of the Constitution. What most Americans don't know is that the history of abortion starts with the Pilgrims in this country. Contrary to popular belief, they were okay with abortion. Strange as that sounds, the history of abortion in America is a fascinating one, regardless of how you feel about the subject. We'll learn when it was legal, when it became illegal. We'll learn what groups were behind the main movement to make abortion illegal and how it was conceived and why. History is made up of data, laws, our government, and human first-hand anecdotals that can be verified. But this historical subject matter has added the component of passion. Join me on a journey that starts over 5 centuries ago. It has a beginning and a middle, and as of yet, it really has no satisfying conclusion. Thank you, and I hope to see you this fall.
Hello, everyone. This is Jack Burkert. I'm a Baltimore historian. I'm going to be teaching some programs for the Osher Institute this fall. There will be 4 sessions in this particular series, and we're going to try to deal with some of the triumphs and tragedies of Baltimore in the various decades of the 20th century. We begin, of course, with the first decade, the Great Baltimore Fire, and the amazing recovery that took place over the succeeding 4, 5, 10 years, perhaps. Then we fast forward into the decade of the Great Depression and the 1930s and how people survived, what caused it, how people survived, and the steps that government took and the effect on Baltimore and Baltimoreans in particular. We fast forward once again to the amazing 1960s. If you were there, you'll never forget them. It's an amazing decade of triumph and tragedy, all sorts of things going on, multiple assassinations, riots, the whole thing. And all of this impacted Baltimore so very, very much. But then we had the Renaissance decade, the 1970s, where the city repaired itself and people took advantage of the beauty and the opportunities in the city of Baltimore. So that's 4 classes. There are 4 classes: the early decade of the turn of the century, the Great Depression, the crazy 1960s, and then that wonderful decade of recovery, the 1970s. So that's our decade during that period. That's the program that we're going to offer this fall with the Osher Institute. I thank you so much, and I'll look forward to seeing you there. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Jim Kraft, and I'm really looking forward to teaching this class on the story of cryptography. What is cryptography? Cryptography is the art and science of sending messages that can only be read by the intended recipients. Cryptography has been around since biblical times, but today it plays an essential role in our daily lives. Who has used cryptography? Jeremiah used it in the Hebrew Bible. Julius Caesar used it in his military campaigns. Mary, Queen of Scots, used cryptography, but her method ended up causing her to lose her head. And Napoleon used cryptography, but he used it poorly, and it led to his first military defeat. But more importantly, in today's modern world, we use cryptography every single day. We use cryptography when we log on to our computer, when we withdraw money from an ATM, or when we make an internet purchase, for instance, through Amazon. In this course, we'll give a non-technical survey of cryptography from biblical times to modern times. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to teaching it, and I hope to see you there. Thank you.
My name is Guillermo Worley. I think some of you may know me from some previous classes that I taught on this subject of artificial intelligence, and as well as some other technology and society issues. In the fall, I will be teaching the class of artificial intelligence, very similar to the one that I taught previously, although I changed the title a little bit because I will not focus as much on the ethical issues, but instead look at some future directions, some of the latest developments. Other than that, it will be similar to the last class. We will spend some time looking at a bit of the historical perspective of artificial intelligence, how it came about, how it originated, some of the definitions and the different aspects of the definition and what they mean. And then I want to explain a little bit about the terminology, the methodology, what a model is, what large language models are, what hallucinations are, a lot of the things that you probably hear in the news. So you will be better informed to understand developments and understand what's being advertised and shown all around us and how AI is starting to affect our lives. And then towards the end, maybe the last session and a half, we will mostly dedicate it to look at some examples and some of the news and some of the developments and directions and things that we see popping up every day, and try to decipher them a little bit and understand what they mean, what they really can do, and things of that nature. So you will be less overwhelmed and perhaps better informed to understand this technology that is embracing us so fast. So I think that's about it. I hope to see you there. It's been a pleasure to teach the previous class, and I'm sure this will be the same. So we'll see you in the fall. Thank you.
Hey there, Debbie Finch. It's good to see you.
Hello, Patrick Chalk. It's great to see you too.
Well, I understand we're going to team up and do a joint class this fall on the opioid epidemic. And by joint class, I'm not referring to smoking.
That's right. It's titled The Science and Reality of the Opioid Epidemic in the U.S., What You Think You Know and What You Need to Know. I am so excited about it because we're going to cover a topic we've both been working on for several years.
Me too. We want to discuss the current opioid epidemic, some of its root causes, as well as the broader topic of substance use disorder, what some people call addiction. We'll talk about the science underlying substance abuse and how it's better understood as a brain disease and not a moral weakness. This way of thinking helps us shape how we look at treatment as well as recovery.
We're also going to discuss what we can do, and that's really empowering. How community prevention education is working through programs like Knitting Club at Boys and Girls Club. Can't wait to share about that. And Lock It Up, safe storage education programs providing locking medication bags on our college campuses. We will share how law enforcement, first responders, and people in recovery are working together to save lives, and other public health interventions to reduce the many harms associated with substance use.
I think we both agree this topic is important because this epidemic is affecting everyone, no matter what your job, your age, your gender, or where you live. But we will pay particular attention to two very vulnerable groups, adolescents and older adults.
So please join us for the fall Osher course, The Science and Reality of the Opioid Epidemic in the U.S., What You Think You Know and What You Need to Know. We look forward to a lively discussion.
We hope to see you then.
Welcome. I'm Ann Farrell, and I want to welcome new and returning Osher students to my fall course, You Are What You Think, The Powerful Mind-Body Connection. We're all emotional beings living in our physical bodies, suffering from the frailty of the human condition. This course will examine our genetics in terms of what we're born with that causes and predisposes us to certain diseases, as well as epigenetics, what we do to influence the expression of those genes, and expands it to the mental health domain. We'll examine the direct influence that our state of mind, from stress to joy, has on the messages that our brain sends to our nervous system, to our immune system, and ultimately to our cells. I think you'll find it fascinating to learn for the first time, probably, how the way we think and act can maximize our ability to heal, to prevent diseases, and ultimately to enhance our overall physical and mental health. Over the course of 8 weeks, we'll examine and discuss why Americans have so much mental illness and are so unhappy compared to our counterparts in other countries. We'll delve into the neurophysiology, which I think you'll find fascinating, of how the brain actually drives our human behavior, and explore the relationship between mental well-being and physical illness, including the powerful impacts of childhood trauma on later diseases that we have, as well as how we can actively prevent, in some cases, Alzheimer's disease. We'll review long-standing and emerging approaches to managing stress and optimizing our happiness, even in these stressful times, to improve our physical and mental well-being and ultimately our longevity. Welcome to my course.